These guys who come from the same city, they know each other, they've played at local fireside gatherings. The TwoBiers came through kind of the same way as Xixo and guys like Faramir coming through Meltdown in Berlin and playing at those local events. And then he's here in the final, beating Strifecrow, beating Eloise on the way here, beating guys like Super JJ as well. It's we said that TwoBiers hadn't had the most impressive run to the final in the group stages, but now he's made it to the playoffs. It's certainly been an impressive run.
Yeah, there's no debating it now. We had a conversation yesterday where it's like, he's beaten some really, really strong players. Let's take nothing away from Super JJ and the other people that he beat, but Strifecrow was definitely a step up in terms of, really, really established tournament-winning professional Hearthstone players. So yeah, for him to go through that and then follow it up with a big win over Eloise as well, like he's certainly upped his game to go along with the increased quality of competition, and he definitely deserves to be here in the final. He's brought a strategy to this tournament. He's put tech cards in his deck. He's targeted specific things with the Dreadscale double Hunter's Mark Hunter deck that also has a Harrison Jones squeezed in there as well, and that deck's done a lot of work for him. So.
Yeah, we'll talk about the lineups in just a second, but let's talk about Xixo real quick as well. Obviously, we talked about how he was maybe on a dip of form on at the back end of his career with Archon. Left that team, is now signed with Na'Vi, but even in the point before he was signing with Na'Vi, was really looking impressive, had really turned on his form, won the Esports Arena tournament, his first major event, his first LAN event win, which is a great one to get under your belt, really, to get a first real big live event win, to really establish yourself among the very top tier of Hearthstone. And now he's winning a lot of online invitationals as well, doing very well in online cups. He has always been a real online cup warrior. It was one of the stereotypical online qualifier warriors that played in basically everything that he could online.
Right. For a while, there was kind of a meme where like open qualifiers had to introduce the Xixo rule, which is, Xixo has to be invited to your tournament. Otherwise, no one else has a chance to qualify because he's just going to win the open qualifier. That was definitely a thing for a while, but Xixo raised his profile. He did start getting those invites and gave a few of us mere mortals a chance to have a stab at open qualification spots instead. But yeah, Xixo definitely now a huge name, very, very worthy of invites to big tournaments of himself. Obviously, he got invited to this tournament and he has justified that invitation to the fullest. He's here in the final. It's going to be a fantastic set against TwoBiers, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's going to be a best of 7 in our final. We've been best of 5s all the way through. It's going to be a best of 7, but we are still going to see a ban. So we've talked about how last year's standing encourages tactical picking. So they are still going to get to ban, and then at any point throughout the series, they can revive a deck.
At any point. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So we're making it as tactical as possible for these guys. They really have an opportunity to manipulate their lineups to really try and match their decks up against their opponents as well as possible. Mm-hmm. And I really like this. I think it really shows off the flexibility of last year's standing potentially. Watches Xixo now just 4-0s with Face Hunter. The flexibility of last year's standing. Of course, this is a last year standing tournament if you're just joining us, as opposed to Conquest. But it's going to be a great final. What kind of impact does the banning and the reviving have on the lineups for maybe people who are just joining us?
So just to be clear before I get started, you are in charge. You get to pick to one of your own decks to revive at any point.
Yeah,
you're not picking a revive for your opponent.
No,
you're picking a revive
you can revive one of your locked out decks.
All right. So the opportunity to be able to do it at any time is again very, very interesting. It's something that's often given to as a winner's bracket advantage in a double elimination format to the player that's gone through in the winners bracket, is they are allowed to choose a revival for their opponent, or that they have to only win 3 games, their opponent has to win 4, can choose a revival of their own, etc. But taking away sort of the advantageous element of that and just leaving it kind of level for both sides just introduces another layer where you can ban out a deck that you're scared of your opponent being able to play twice. You can try and really line up one deck that you think has favorable matchups, ban out the bad matchup for that, and then you're almost just relying on that deck to carry you because of the fact that you can play it twice. Play it, do as well as you can with it, get the loss, and then just revive it and play it again. If you feel like that one deck has consistent enough matchups across the board and you're able to sneak it through the ban phase, you can kind of just lean on that one deck. So there's a lot of different elements you can enter into here, and it does, as you say, just introduce another level of strategy to the pick and ban phase.
And I mean, we've talked about the Hunter deck from TwoBiers quite strongly all the way through, and it's been a deck that he's leaned on heavily. It's very teched out. Is that a deck that is Xixo you just look to ban straight away?
Yeah, I mean, it's debatable, but TwoBiers does have the pally as well, so he may gain an advantage from the fact that he's managed to build up a bit of fear in that Hunter deck. He has been successful for it, and it is obviously so well teched out against some of the matchups that he's coming up against in the tournament, where if he can kind of intimidate his opponent into banning that deck out, he then gets to use his pally and try and run riot with that. So it's kind of a catch-22 situation from Xixo, where he can only choose to ban one of those two classes.
Well, I can tell you that Xixo has not decided to ban either the Paladin or the Hunter. He's gone for the Druid.
Interesting.
And TwoBiers has banned the Freeze Mage of Xixo. So we're just getting into the game here. Game number 1 is going to be the Druid for Xixo against the Paladin of TwoBiers to start with. And you can see the Harrison in his Paladin as well.
Yeah, this Paladin has a Defender of Argus in it. So TwoBiers must have been one of the players that was playing mid-range Paladin previously and not the Secrets Paladin, is that right?
Yeah, it's the same kind of deck we saw from Nyria.
Yeah, so it looks very much like that. Yeah, IMB Cow, another card that's slightly more common in the mid-range deck, although it started to make its way into the Secrets deck as well. But strong start from Xixo's side here, and just hero power pass from TwoBiers. Now, looks like we're going to coin. Xixo is coining and then pausing, which does reveal the fact that he has multiple options with 4 mana in his hand. This is something we've seen for Xixo throughout this tournament, and honestly just Xixo in general. Like he's a fast, instinctive player a lot of the time. He has been playing a ton of Patron for the last couple of months, which isn't a deck you can play quickly, but generally when he goes back to his aggro roots, he is quite a quick, instinctive player. We've seen him slam some cards off the top of his deck so quickly that they bugged out the Spectator client today. And yeah, he was very, very quick to commit the coin there and then stop to think about which of the 4 drops he actually wanted to play.
Yeah, as you say, that does give information to his opponent that there were multiple options available there. What do you think of the Combatant over the Shredder?
I mean, I like it. There's no coin available from your opponent, so there's no chance of this Combatant getting taken down by True Silver. And it's just a much more aggressive minion than Piloted Shredder. It represents the 5 damage on the board instead of just the 4 from the Shredder, and it also gives you the extra damage from your hero power. Allows you to be flexible the next turn and either go with the Shredder, as we see Xixo do here, or he also has the option to hero power down a decent-sized minion, like an Outdoor Peacekeeper, and then play Druid of the Saber to follow up with the rest of the mana. So the Savage Combatant development certainly gave him a lot of options that turn, but True Silver is a decent looking pickup here from TwoBiers to try and stem the flood of some of this damage for right now.
Yeah, definitely. You can take out the Savage Combatant, which is going to start to do a lot of work, but you're already going to be putting yourself towards half health here on turn 4, and there is a Fell Reaver to come down on turn 5.
Yeah, he's instead going to go look for the Consecration here, which takes 1 more minion off the board. He's going to be left just with the Shredder drop. Does get rid of the Mana Crystal, ruins the opportunity for the Fell Reaver follow-up. But Xixo does still have a little bit of gas going here, develops the Druid of the Saber in stealth, pokes 1 more to the face with the Ooze and 1 more with the hero power, and 15, he's halfway done with his job, and his job is reduce that number to 0.
Double True Silver coming to hand, not great couple of draws there. But do you think we just see the Harrison Jones come down here as a 5-drop just to threaten the boards?
Yeah, I like it. Seems like a minion that will certainly get ignored. Doesn't seem to have too much value of being traded into. And then you can follow it up next turn with another minion plus Taunt or Hero Power plus Taunt, depending on how you go with it, using the Defender of Argus. I don't think there's too much merit to spending your whole turn equipping a True Silver and sniping down a Echoing Ooze just to take that 1 damage off the board. So I feel like the development play is pretty strong. He's actually going to peck away at the Echoing Ooze, which does deal 1 more damage to himself, which is pretty relevant at this point when you've lost lost exactly half your health before he made the attack by turn 5.
Yep, the taunt's going to come down more than likely this turn because there's no way to deal with this unless BGH comes out. Okay, it does pick up Coghammer.
Yeah, with this being the more mid-rangey deck, there is the possibility of Outdoor Peacekeeper, which is, of course, the absolute dream against Fell Reaver. So he didn't necessarily need the big game Hunter. He did have a few outs. And Coghammer is one of them that, from TwoBiers' perspective at least, is a pretty decent stalling technique here. But I think he's going to favour the Defender of Argus play here to create the 2 taunts instead of 1.
Yeah, and if he wants to, he can trade away both of the other minions and leave just the Fell Reaver on board.
Yep.
Does mean that the Harrison dies to can die to swipe and hero power. You can clear everything with swipe and hero power, the taunts.
So So this is unfortunately just going to be no dice here for TwoBiers. Swipe is just perfect here. 4 to the Zombie Chow, 1 to the Harrison Jones, 1 to the face. Hero Power lets him push through, and then the Fel Reaver gets in for that 8 that it always hungers to. 8 damage to the face, seals out the game. Another extremely quick aggro victory for Xixo.
Yeah, I mean, this is what he wants to do with these aggro decks. We have seen his one really control deck banned out in the Freeze Mage. So this is going to be almost full Smork Xixo in this series. He's got the mid-range Patron Warrior as well, which would be nice to get to see some more. But, I mean, if Xixo just wants to win with these face decks, I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, I mean, Xixo definitely, before he became really, really, really well known because of his insane success on ladder and in tournaments with Patron Warrior, he was primarily known as an aggro player. Perhaps biased a little bit by he really got a lot of fame early on because of his ladder marathons, you know, the race to first legend early in the season. Sure. And of course,
and hitting like 3 across all 3 accounts and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, when he was doing that, he was using quick decks, and quick decks obviously mean aggro. So he is a versatile player. He can play a lot more than just aggro, but certainly aggro is something he's extremely comfortable with, and probably has to go down as one of the best aggro players in the world for sure.
Yeah, so it's going to be that mid-range hunter for TwoBiers into the aggro druid. I'm not sure what it does up against it. I mean, it can get the early threat and try and control the board and stop things coming down, but the Hunter's Mark, of course, a great answer to a Fel Reaver, and I definitely don't mind keeping the Hunter's Mark in the opening hand.
Yeah, I think especially with how this deck is teched out with extra things like the Dread Scale, that Hunter's Mark is really, really flexible in this deck. It can combine with the Knife Juggler that we see in his hand already. It can combine with Unleash the Hounds. It's obviously excellent already with Web Spinner, which he also already has. And then, yeah, just the Dread Scale added on top of that means that Hunter's Mark is a lot more of a flexible card in this deck than it is in most builds of Mid-Range Hunter.
There's a Core Hound coming out for TwoBiers.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's going to see much play.
Doesn't look like it, no. So the Unleash the Hounds comes into the hand, which might make him a little bit hesitant to lose this Knife Juggler here, but he has to find some way of dealing with that Darnassus Aspirant before the mana situation gets too far out of control for Xixo. Looks like he's just going to value using the Coin Kill command and keep that Knife Juggler Unleash play for a further turn, or at least keep that option available to himself. You know, delay the inevitable perhaps of having to play the Knife Juggler, but at least keep the option available if he can pick up some other things to do.
Very quick turn from Xixo where he just played the Aspirant and hit face.
Yep, not much of a else to do for Xixo that turn, and I said he'd be looking to pick up some other options so he doesn't have to commit that Knife Juggler, and that unfortunately is an option that he already had, so that doesn't give him too much more versatility here, and he's going to have to think long and hard about whether he really wants to continue to hang on to the value of this Juggler Unleash combo, which is one of the best answers to aggro in Mid-Range Hunter.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to throw the Knife Juggler right here. Drawing the second Unleash is such a whiff at this point.
Yeah.
I'm not sure there are many more cards that you would be less pleased to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the end of the world. Knife Juggler does kind of have taunt. You do have to deal with it. You can't leave it around on the board because it represents so much value as a clearing tool against aggro as well as just a threat itself. So I like the Savage Roar here. It pushes through a lot of damage with 2 minions on the board and just gets uses the hero damage to take out the Knife Juggler and keeps his position on the board nice and secure.
I like it especially when you've just top decked the Force of Nature, because that means you're keeping more sources of direct damage in your hand. He had 2 sources of direct damage in his hand. He swapped one out as he top decked another one.
Sure. So the Unleash the Hounds kill command, Unleash the Hounds Hunter's Mark here, sorry, is going to leave Xixo out of options in his hand because of the mana loss, but there we go, you saw it again. The Spectator bug for a little second there, just because of how quickly Xixo slammed that card off the top of his deck.
And Freezing Trap coming down from TwoBiers to try and isolate this piloted Shredder. We've seen that a couple of times. Pilot Shredder is such a high-value target for Freezing Trap.
Just not going to hold, though. Force of Nature, perfect answer to Freezing Trap. He's going to get to push through 4 damage with 2 Treants that do get to connect and hold that 3rd Treant back in his hand as additional damage later, and push through the damage of the piloted Shredder that was isolated against the Freezing Trap. One of the really, really favourable interactions that even Mid-Range Druid does have against Mid-Range Hunter, even though that's kind of a poor matchup, is that Force of Nature Freezing Trap interaction. So this more aggressive Druid has access to that as well, on top of so many other things that make it a better matchup.
And no real good answer in the hand for the Hunter. Mad Scientist can come down with a hero power, start chipping away, but we can't afford to take out this Pilot Shredder with the bow.
Can't afford to take the damage.
You might die.
Yep, and Dr. Boom is just going to come down, unless Xixo is just going to pause for a second. Wait, do I have lethal? No, I don't. Alright, let's play Boom. With Swipe and Treant, he could have added 6 more to the 4 he had already, but 10's not enough, so just going to develop the big boy, get the 7/7 in play. Boombots potentially get some burst damage as well if they direct themselves at face. We do see the second Hunter's Mark, though, along with the second Unleash the Hounds, so potential for a little bit of a comeback mounting ever so slowly for TwoBiers. Not completely out of this yet, but so much damage built up in Xixo's hand that I don't think even this is going to be enough.
Yeah, Aggro Druid looking like such a strong option for Xixo here. He's on the cusp of a second win with it.
So we're going to see the Hunter's Mark come down, clear out the 7/7. And then I guess he's just going to try and isolate the Pilot Shredder again, get his information first as to what he has to do this turn. He does, of course, have a snake trap in his deck as well, and it looks like he got the snakes based on the way he's attacking them. And hopes that the dog doesn't get hit. It doesn't, but 4 to face, that's just going to end the game anyway. Yeah, there we go.
Swipe is going to be perfect, even without a Treant and Hero Power, and yeah. I think TwoBiers knows that wasn't going to be a good outcome for him. Xixo halfway home with the Aggro Druid.
Yeah, not quite as fast as the last 4 wins we've seen him pick up, I don't think. I think they were all within about turn 7 or so in the previous set and the first game of this set. So he technically had lethal on turn 8 there. So Xixo slacking a bit, slowing down, not killing people quite as quick anymore.
Well, it's been a long day. He's been playing a lot of games of Hearthstone. He's just, he wants to face Hunter and chill and really just relax and go about his aggro as he does of an evening. Xixo just sitting down, throwing some aggro at the ladder, and that's how he relaxes, really, I think.
Pretty much, yeah. And you can just see the difference in reactions on the 2 players' face. TwoBiers definitely a bit distraught after that last loss, deep in thought, trying to work out how he's going to dig this way out. And Xixo with that just Xixo look on his face, just like, yeah, this is what I do. I wreck scrubs with aggro, deal with it.
And losing his Hunter, that's got to feel pretty bad for TwoBiers. So this is a revival in the Paladin here.
Yeah, attempt number 2 with the Paladin. And mid-range Paladin, I think Cursed, who came up with the original idea for this aggro druid deck, that it's pretty much less than a month old at this point. It was really used at the start of this season when Cursed and Xixo, in fact, were racing for first to legend, and one of those marathon sessions that we were talking about earlier. I think Cursed actually considers mid-range Paladin to be the worst matchup for the deck, so no great surprise to me to see mid-range Paladin being revived here.
Yeah, we kept the Eldor Peacekeeper in the opening hand this time, after being destroyed by the Fell Reaver in the first game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're going to see Xixo go all the way through to innovate Double Darkness Aspirant here. Yeah, I love it. Paladin has no way to interact with a minion that you play. The first thing that they do that can deal damage from hand is muster for battle on turn 3, and that only does 1. So these aspirants are going to stick to the board almost 100% of the time, or actually just 100% of the time. Yeah. And then you're just going to be able to develop Savage Combatant on the following turn if you want to. So I love the play to invest in the double Darnassus there.
Yeah, Combatant is a little bit weak to Eldor Peacekeeper coming into turn 3, but I still think you play it and then you trade one of the aspirants into the Knife Juggler, just control the board and do the damage. But Xixo maybe disagrees. He's going to go for the Living Roots. I think he's going to use them for board rather than damage.
Yeah, he's valuing the board here. I definitely
just going to go for Savage Horror, okay.
Yeah, this is, if you're not used to playing this deck, it can be a little counterintuitive at first, because obviously Druids, normal mid-range Druid, loves to hoard cards, combo pieces for the big turn 9 combo, but this deck is so aggressive that you don't need to rely on that turn 9 combo. You can get lethal so much quicker, as Xixo's already been showing us, and he actually forces his opponent to use the Eldor Peacekeeper preemptively, and now a huge target comes out in the Savage Combatant that he would love to have Eldored, and there's still the Fell Reavers in the deck that we've talked about how fantastic feeling Eldoring a Fell Reaver is. So.
It's one Eldor done. There's such a reduced chance of TwoBiers being able to have one. So what is that? That's 7, 8, 9, 13 already. So you can put him to 7 on turn 5.
So much damage. Of course, he turns down the long-term value of the hero power here by playing the Druid of the Claw. So from a face hunter mentality, you kind of want to squeeze your hero power in every turn. It's the same thing I talked about before with the warrior, right? If you don't press the hero power, that damage that turn is gone forever and you'll never get it back. But he's just developing the Druid of the Claw in taunt form there to protect the long-term damage of his Savage Combatants, which makes a lot of sense as well.
I think that's going to be it.
Game.
Yeah, that's just it.
That is just game. This is just the most insane streak of aggro wins I think I've ever seen. Wow.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that.
It's been something like turn 6, turn 7, turn 6, turn 7, turn 6. Like something like that in terms of wins. 3 of them with Face Hunter, 3 of them with Face Druid. Just an absolutely ridiculous run of wins.
All right, we see that was the second chance with the Paladin for TwoBiers, so all he has left is the Handlock now to try and beat this aggro Druid. And when we've talked about the Handlock versus aggro matchups, it's basically aggro out your opponent before they can play Double Molten Giant. And we've seen from Xixo that he is very capable of aggroing out an opponent before turn 5 or 6. He's more than capable of rising to that challenge of outrunning his opponent.
All right, this is the first time in 7 straight aggro games where I would describe as Xixo's opening hand as average or below. Every Face Hunter game, he was hitting Worgen Infiltrator plus buffs. Every Face Druid so far, he's had a curve involving Dionysus Aspirant.
Oh yeah, he's just drawn like a god all day.
This is the first one where he actually has to try and get some work done with less than optimal draws. So we'll see if he can engineer his way through here. More coil off the top for TwoBiers. All right, the draws might just be starting to swing around here, because that was a very, very nice top deck for TwoBiers to pick up there with the Mortal Coil. Hero power on turn 2 for Xixo. All right, yeah, there's the emote. Natural mistake. I didn't hit my Aspirant this game. Obvious misplay from Xixo to not draw Aspirant for turn 2. Well, let's life tap and help my opponent kill me.
I mean, this is the thing, right? This is the counterintuitive thing with Handlock against Face Hunter traditionally, is that you're really helping your opponent's hero power. But if Xixo can put down something like a Savage Combatant, the exact same is also true.
Yeah, honestly, this is like one of the first things you learn when you start playing Handlock, when you're newer to the game, is that not to fear the life tap. Don't worry about the damage you're doing to yourself. Even against aggro, you need the options. But when your opponent has been so relentlessly beating you down so quickly, you can't help but slip back into that fearful mode where you're just a little bit concerned about even life tapping when you're all the way up at 27 lives. So just terrifying amount of aggression in the last few games from Xixo. But like we said, a little bit of a slower start this game. But let's not oversell it. He's had a decent hand. He had a Leponome on turn 1. He had a 3-drop. He had a really strong 4-drop. But this is a pretty good draw from the Handlock as well.
Yeah, we'll see some board control here. Let's do it finally.
Yep.
There is a big game hunter to answer the Fel Reaver.
He does have the answer. He doesn't have anything he would want to play alongside the big game hunter. I wouldn't like to see him just play out additional cards for no reason, just to burn extra cards, which is something some players are tempted to do when they see a Fel Reaver. But yeah, TwoBiers not falling into the trap, just life tapping, stabilizing. Big game hunter on the 8/8, and now he's well ahead in this game.
Yeah, I mean, this is the other side of the aggro Druid, is that sometimes you just get completely burnt out by your opponent. Your opponent takes the board and you can't get anything going.
Yeah, absolutely. Living Roots is nice for dealing with Big Game Hunter, at least reducing some of the tempo loss. And Xixo, it looks like he's accepting that he can't just activate the race with his current hand. He needs to try and play in more of a regular Druid style, develop a board, and then potentially just clutch out in more of a classic style against the Handlock and try and perhaps use the full combo later on. But yeah, alright, not going to waste any time. Defender of Argus on Ancient Watcher and Doomguard comes down, and Xixo is just going to peace out and try and pick up his 1 extra win elsewhere.
Alright, so 1 down for the aggro Druid. If you're Xixo, is there a part of you that just thinks, do you know what, let's just go straight back in with the aggro Druid, because it worked well for 3 games.
Yeah, but by the same argument, the Face Hunter worked pretty well for 3 games before, right? And oh, wow, obviously, Xixo likes this Patron build against Handlock.
Yeah, we saw him pick up a win against Handlock earlier. I think it was against against Gara, perhaps, was it?
It may well have been, yeah, but it makes a lot of sense because you have cards like Piloted Shredder in your deck instead of some of the combo pieces, and being able to proactively play a Piloted Shredder is a lot scarier to a handlock than just sitting around hoarding cards and letting them have free time to tap and develop whatever they want. So it makes a lot of sense that he'd favour this matchup more with the new style of mid-rangey patron deck than he did with the previous combo-focused version. But yeah, likes it enough to just pick it out here and just try and pick up the win. So.
Yeah, so what's going on for the handlock here? Is the option to just Dark Bomb this?
Yeah, Unstable Ghoul on turn 2 is actually pretty scary against Patron Warrior because you don't want them to develop an Acolyte behind it, but you do always have the option of just Dark Bombing the Acolyte next turn if you really want to. So I don't mind seeing the tap come out here. What you just don't want to do is just don't play a minion that he can then pop his Unstable Ghoul on and activate his Acolyte value. Because now he does still have the option to Dark Bomb the Acolyte if he wants to, because he doesn't actually have a 4-drop to play. But all right.
Oh, there you go. There's one.
Never mind. There it is.
Twilight Drake pickup. I don't think there's any silence in this deck. Not sure if I've seen any.
No, in the game we saw him win against Handlock previously. He actually used both of his executes early against 2 Twilight Drakes and was actually able just to push through the late game taunts using the higher value minions in the deck, the Dr. Boom, the Gromash, etc. Normally, if you're the patron player and you're forced to use both your executes early against a handlock with the previous style of the deck, you kind of lost the game immediately when the late game taunt board came down, unless you have that God Emperor hand with both Grim Patron and Frothing Berserker in it. So
I like this play with the Frothing Berserker. Unfortunately, it is going to be directly answered with the Dark Bomb, but I do like it from Xixo, developing a big Frothing Berserker. I mean, that is the role of Frothing Berserkers in this new deck, right? Is just at a point build up like a 6 or 7 attack Frothing Berserker and just say, all right, answer this.
Yeah, it's basically just putting something on the board very, very cheaply. It's a cheap investment in terms of, a tempo investment just to play a 3-mana card, and you can create situations where your opponent has to deal with it or die, and you'd be basically using that to mess up key turns from your opponent. So against a handlock, any turn you can make them spend mana on removal and not just drop another huge threat on the board when you're not ready for it. You have to consider that a win.
The Dread Corsair coming down is a card that Xixo is very attached to, kept it in his Patron build for a long time, pre-nerf. Gets another one off the Battle Rage as well. Thorison coming down here on a reasonable hand for the handlock. Getting those Mortal Coils to 0 is pretty nice. The Taunt at 1 mana is also very good. So not hitting things like Giants and Twilight Drakes or anything huge like Mal'Ganis, but some decent value coming into the hand. I mean, at the end of the day, you're reducing 7 cards, so it's always going to feel pretty good.
Sure. He has the option for a big Inner Rage tempo play this turn if he wants to. He can coin out the Dr. Boom and then use Inner Rage on his Acolyte to trade with the Emperor Thaurissan using his Fiery War Axe as well. Retain the stronger minion. Oh, he's actually just going to trade directly and hold on to his weapon. That's interesting. Valuing the weapon charge over the minion on the board is pretty interesting there.
Yeah, I mean, Xixo knows what he's doing with this deck.
I'm
played
sure,
a lot.
absolutely sure he does. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the thing we were saying the other day is that it's there's a reason that people aren't playing with this because it's not really tested yet. But Xixo has tested it extensively on ladder. He's played it to high legend against all the other current strong decks, and he knows how to play it. And it says a lot to his versatility that he goes from being one of the best original Patron players in the game to being one of the best, to being probably the best right now at this new mid-range Patron before most people have even bothered to pick it up yet.
Sure. Alright, Slam is an option to cycle, but this feels like a matchup that Xixo's trying to play as the aggressor here. He doesn't want to really be doing the old-fashioned Patron thing of just cycling and hoarding cards. He wants to be developing threats. So the maximum threat he can develop this turn is the Loatheb and Dread Corsair, and of course we're idiots. It's really it's just so goddamn obvious why he was valuing the weapon over the minion on board. He had another Dread Corsair in his hand. I don't know why I missed that last turn, but yeah, all right. I'll just blame it on fatigue at this point, I guess.
The fatigue warrior has gone, thankfully. So
yeah, that's very
no actual fatigue in that sense. Molten Giant is live this turn with the Sunfury Protector, can definitely get some value. Possibly want to deal with this Loatheb, though. You're getting pretty low on life.
You are. You've seen one execute come out from your opponent, and you've had a threat stick to the board here that may have brought out a second execute, so I don't know how confident you feel about just hiding behind a taunt wall. But Options aren't fantastic. He can put up 2 big taunts, but there is a lot of power on the board to then deal with those taunts. And obviously, his removal options like Hellfire are locked out by the lower threat effect. So it's like he's just going to go ahead and develop Dr. Boom here, and then taunt up the 7/7 and a Boom Bot.
Yep, so creates that big taunt with the Dr. Boom. Slam is going to cycle now. Xixo's looking for a brawl or an execute. Isn't going to find it.
Whirlwind would have been a pretty nice pickup there as well, because he still has the mana for the Patron Inner Rage Whirlwind that, it might be worth the risk of not running into a Hellfire, because it does actually help to deal with the Boombots on board as well. And he's in fact actually going to go for the Patron generation anyway. Hope to get lucky off the Boombots to try and get some sort of foothold on the board here. No, never mind. He's just going to concede.
It's a pretty early concede from Xixo there, but it's not uncommon for him to also do that as well. When he feels like he's even just a little bit behind, is that he doesn't really see a way back over the next few turns, that he's just going to get out of that game and try again. Well, 3-2 now for Xixo, and TwoBiers looking like he's trying to stage a comeback here. So it's going to be the Warlock of TwoBiers, the Handlock, and it's against the Face Hunter of Xixo. All right, back to the Smork. And tried to play with the Patron. Back
to the opening hand Worgen Infiltrator Glavezuka. Like, he has hit this so very, very consistently in his Face Hunter game so far. It's just one of the best possible openings you can ever get. From TwoBiers' side, I'd like to see him hang on to the Void Caller. It's just your best chance at a big tempo swing against this deck. Emperor Thaurissan a little bit clunky, but if you're able to stabilize enough in the early game turns, it can do some nice things. And a card that we've seen that's quite interesting that he has teched into his deck, it's a little bit different from the standard list. He's playing a Siphon Soul, which has kind of been forced out of Handlock for quite a few months now, but there are still a few players who favour it.
Yeah, particularly with the demons coming in, it's many people don't find a spot for it anymore.
Right, it's already a deck that there aren't enough spots on for the amount of cards that you want to play. You're already cutting things, as good as Sludge Belcher from the deck to make room for things. So
yeah,
interesting that he's finding room for a Siphon Soul.
Yeah, there's some people who can't even find room for more than one Hellfire and one Shadow Flame, for example. It's a very, very fill to bursting deck that's really hard to fit all the cards you want into if you want to tech stuff out.
Yeah, I really like this play to develop the 2/3 here, because otherwise, if we saw Glavezuka on that Worgen Infiltrator, it was going to get in for 6 before you had any way of interacting with it, and that's just so much damage to take early. Unfortunately, Xixo had both options covered. He had the really, really aggressive play with the Glavezuka, but he also had the way to beat the 2/3 with the Eagle Hornbow.
He also has the Arcane Golem for 3, which is definitely an option. He's going to play the Mad Scientist. I actually don't mind it, though, because your opponent's going to be on turn 4 anyway, so turn 4 is it's a good turn for Handlock with things like Twilight Drake and the Void Caller. But if your opponent's going to be on 4 anyway, the Mountain Giant's going to be on 6 because they played the Sun Fury. It's actually not a particularly beneficial turn to give the opponent an extra mana crystal.
Right, you have to consider that you're not only giving them an extra mana crystal for that one turn, though, and doing it so early in the game is such a huge advantage to give them over the entire course of the game. If he didn't have any other 2-drops to play on this, turn 4, then I think you 100% would have taken the risk with the Arcane Golem, because you need to play a 2-mana card plus hero power on turn 4, looking at this hand, but because he had that option available to him already with the Glavezuka, there was no need to make the investment. They're just really, really risky investment with the Arcane Golem that early on.
Just goes with the 1 taunt. A little bit of desperation here from TwoBiers.
Yeah, but it is going to force out the Jiraxxus onto the board, and he does have the second Sun Fury to then back that up. And yeah, I like him trading with the Mad Scientist here, because from what he can see, that forces both minions to trade. Whereas if he kills the 3/1 Worgen Infiltrator, the rest of the trade can be done using the Hunter's Face, and then the other minion retained on board to do repetitive damage. So I actually think his little... Yeah, you saw his thought process there by where he was pointing his arrow. He started up on the Worgen, then he just realised that maybe the Mad Scientist was better. I think he would have ended up in the right place if he'd have stopped there.
Yeah, so is there any lethal here for Xixo? He's going to count the damage. He has, 6, 8, 9 damage? Is he just going to go all in here with the Arcane and the Glavezuka?
I think, having seen the Jiraxxus come out, he's trying to just invest as much melee damage as he can right now, so that he doesn't have to beat this taunted Jiraxxus if it does get taunted up. He can just try and rely on the hero power to do its job, alongside the kill command. So he needs more than just taunt this turn, but he does now have more than taunt. He has lower Theban taunt.
Yep, that is available. And that's going to lock down this board, but Hero Power and Kill Command will be enough to seal this out. There's no heal if he doesn't use the Siphon Soul.
Yeah,
I mean, this is just game, right?
No, because lower Theb.
Okay, because lower Theb blocks out the Kill Command.
Yeah, like I said, he needs something extra apart from the taunt. He did draw the lower Theb there, which is enough to do the job. Like Kill Command just becomes straight up uncastable at this point. So the taunt...
It gives him one turn, but unless he draws into heal...
Well, he has a heal. He has Siphon Soul, so...
Is that going to be enough?
No, it's not enough from his perspective. Sorry, it's not enough from our perspective because we see the Kill Command, but it does, from TwoBiers' perspective, allow him to keep pace with the hero power. So he's demanding at least, damage sources from his opponent that beat these taunts.
All right. Does have Hellfire in hand as well to defend against another board flood, but he's very low on life for that to be considered an option, mousing over that.
Right. So yeah, realistically, he might hold out some outside hopes that this Siphon Soul in his hand is enough. But realistically, we're going to have to see an Antique Heal bot top deck this turn.
Yeah, because there's just going to be a potential explosive trap. There's going to be the Kill Command and a Hero Power next turn. So there's going to be 5 damage, potentially 7 with the... If he does trigger the explosive damage, I wouldn't imagine he will. So yeah, this is just going to be a Siphon Soul.
Mortal Coil. Can we use that this turn? I don't think we can. I think that's just game. He's going to Siphon Soul because it's the best he can do, but it's not going to be good enough.
Siphon Soul is going to take him to Xixo being exact lethal, right?
Yep. It's not like he can Siphon Soul, gain the life, and then tap to try and look for some sort of long-term answer because it just doesn't gain him enough life to be able to afford that sort of leeway. So the Siphon Soul is going to come down here because it is going to be his best option, his only option to get out of this. He's just considering his various options with the traps, but it's been a great run, but it looks like it's coming to an end here.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like Xixo is going to beat 2. All right, apologies for that momentary loss of commentary there, but the result was a foregone conclusion, a 4-2 victory for Xixo with the Face Hunter. We're going to go to a very short break, and when we come back, going to be a winner's interview. All right, I'm here with our winner. It's not subtle. It is, in fact, Xixo. A commanding performance all the way through this tournament. We're going to talk about a couple of the key points as well. But first question I got to ask you: did you have somewhere to be today? Because you were just god drawing aggro all day long.
Yeah, I had one bad druid game which I actually lost against the handlock when I had to pass turn 2. Other than that, I had a lot of Danos Aspirants on turn 1 and turn 2, so can't complain.
And then against Soleil, I think you drew Worgen Infiltrator every game.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I know obviously you're a very strong patron player. You're very strong in the freeze mage and with this new patron as well that I want to touch on in a second. But you are very much a strong aggro player, and you really showed that today.
Yeah, I mean, I played quite some priest on ladder the past days, but I figured that the aggro decks are just the best right now, so I just took them.
Let's talk about the new mid-range patron, because you were one of the few players to bring it. You're probably one of the few players who has really got to grips with the deck at this point. Some people haven't even had the time or bothered to pick it up yet. But you showed in the earlier matches that you were able to get a couple of wins with it, and it is a really strong deck. Do you think it can be competitive at the top level?
Yeah, in this tournament it went before the finals 8-1, so it was the finals 8-2 for me. But more than half the time it got banned, so I didn't get it played much, but it did get 2 all kills.
Do you think it can really be a top tournament deck, more consistently?
I think the deck might have to make some adjustments. I'm not sure if the list I'm playing right now is the way to go, but if the list is figured out, the best list, I'm pretty sure it will still be competitive.
In that semi-final against LA, that was one of the fastest competitive series I think we've seen in just about any tournament with the Face Hunter. It did show, I guess, one of the disadvantages of last year's standing, but how did it feel getting such a quick and dominant win there?
Well, I knew that it's only a deck that can really beat my Face Hunter was this Druid, and when his turn 2 was Hero Power Pass, I basically knew I had it.
Absolutely. So, just final thoughts, obviously, on the final against TwoBiers. A player you kind of know, you're from the same place. You played in Fireside Gatherings against each other. Did it feel bad to just to stomp a newcomer, a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed up-and-comer?
Oh, he got second place. He can't complain.
All right, Xixo, is there anyone you want to thank? Anyone you want to shout out? Sponsors, team, that sort of thing?
I thank my team and Oskarka, since he helped me with the decks. So thanks Navi and thanks Oskarka.
Well, Xixo, thank you for taking part in the tournament. Congratulate you once again on your victory. We want to thank our sponsors, G2A, Esport Gaming, Matcherino, our French broadcast partners, O Gaming, our production partners, Xixo Esports Studio, Salt and Fireback, who joined me on the cast. I want to thank our admin, Martin, as well, who put in a heroic effort over the past 3 days doing the work of a whole army of people. And, of course, Casper, who put all of this together. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. Thank you to all of them. Thank you to all of you who watched as well. We will see you back for another HS Arena tournament in the future. Make sure you follow at official HS Arena on Twitter for all the details of that when it comes. I've been Callum Leslie. It's been a pleasure to host this event for the past 3 days. We'll see you another time.